When they first engaged with you, they started talking about 5G.
Yeah.
And Huawei.
Yeah, that was, I think one of the first messages was the Huawei incident wasn't isolated and we have our acknowledgements, is what they said. I've read these messages so many times.
And when they're talking about the Huawei incident, they're talking about like, there was something that came out where like the FBI, are you talking about when the FBI like acknowledged that there was like, we were buying Huawei equipment and installing it on like phone towers and cell towers that were near like nuclear bases that were in somewhere in like the Midwest, the US.
Oh, I don't know about that because that,
Okay.
I mean, that could have happened. I think what they were referring to was the CFO got arrested. Her name is Meng Wanzhou, and I think she's the daughter of the CEO.
Oh, right.
She was arrested, and then she was being held in Canada, and we were trying to extradite her, and the charge was brought. It was like conspiracy to defraud multiple international institutions, which I don't really know what that means, and I think that's the point. It's vague. And I think she inevitably just got sent back in an exchange, maybe for a couple of our people that they had.
Yeah, Steve, can you find that story where the CEOs of Huawei's daughter was arrested, and she was arrested in Canada, and the U.S. was trying to extradite her?
Yeah, because so that's why it was interesting what you were just saying, because I think the gist, at least from the hacker's perspective, and I think also just from like a business perspective, is that 5G is I mean, you know, we were just looking at the panels right outside. They're everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah.
And conspiracy aside, it's like the new technology. It's like the iPhone was just invented, and who's ever enabling that technology is going to have a lot of power and make a lot of money.
Yeah, and this is from, when was this? This is from April 14th, 2019. Huawei's founder says his daughter hasn't faced hardship and her arrest will make her stronger.
Yeah, so this I think was
Scroll down
a little bit after she got arrested, because they sent the message in March.
Founder and CEO of the Chinese tech giant Huawei said he believes the arrest of his daughter, Huawei CEO Meng Wanzhou, will make her stronger since she has faced very little hardship in her life. Give her some character.
Yeah, well, he's honest in that regard, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, what G would say, my hacker, that's what I come to call them, is well, I guess also from a grounded perspective too, is that if Huawei is enabling the 5G towers in America or in other countries, that means that essentially the Chinese government is going to have access to the information that flows through that, which is everything.
Yep.
And that does not, that rubs our government the wrong way.
There was a story that came out, I think it was last year, like late last year, where I guess the FBI was investigating how I think it was Verizon. I believe it was Verizon. I could be wrong. It was either Verizon or AT&T was contracting out all of their work they were basically like picking the lowest bids to build all these cell towers, I guess, that were all over the country. And a lot of them were in like Montana area, where all of our ICBM like launch sites are, our nuclear launch sites, where we have all those like Minutemen missiles, you know?
Yeah.
Which are like in range of that nuclear facility. So if there's Huawei, and these were like all Huawei equipment there. So like the FBI had to investigate it and figure out how to like get rid of it and redo it, because it was like a huge like vulnerability to us.
Yeah, that's surprising, because I think that there's some resistance or maybe even some litigation to like limit Huawei's presence in America in general. I could be wrong about that. But like I was just abroad and I see Huawei popping up all over, like, you know, Wi-Fi networks and everything like that. So I think maybe we're keeping them at bay, only for the reason that to an extent we're different from China in that, like, if Huawei is a corporation, but you know, it's probably also the government. Whereas,
of course, right? Because that's like everything in China, right?
Right. I think. I mean, allegedly, but
allegedly, yeah. I've never been, but that's what everybody says.
And to say that our corporations aren't working with our government is probably a bit naive, but there might be a few more steps between the two.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But would China ever let the US install their equipment in their country? No. Hell no. Never.
Yeah.
But we just do it because it's can you find that story, Steve, so we can actually see what it actually said? Basically about the FBI investigating Huawei equipment in cell towers.
It also makes me wonder about the South China Sea and Taiwan and all the microchips too. It's never occurred to me, but I wonder if those microchips are the ones that are being used for. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Yes,
but
this is it. Oh, CNN exclusive. FBI investigation determines Chinese-made Huawei equipment could disrupt U.S. nuclear arsenal communications. Chinese government was offering to spend $100 million to build an ornate Chinese garden at the National Arboretum in Washington, D.C., complete with temples, pavilions, and 70-foot white pagoda. The project thrilled locals officials and hoped it would attract thousands of tourists every year. Yeah. Anyways, there's more about like if you scroll down, it'll show you. Since 2017, federal officials have investigated Chinese land purchases near critical infrastructure, shut down a high-profile regional consulate believed by the U.S. government to be a hotbed of Chinese spies, and stonewalled that they saw clear efforts to plant listening devices near sensitive military and government facilities. Amongst the most alarming things the FBI uncovered pertains to Chinese-made Huawei equipment atop cell towers near U.S. military bases in the rural Midwest, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. The FBI determined equipment was capable of capturing and disrupting highly restrictive Defense Department communications, including those used by U.S. Strategic Command, which oversees the country's nuclear weapons. That's crazy.
Yeah. I appreciate this deep dive too, because it's also it gives some context to it that's a little bit more grounded. So it's not like you have to go full conspiracy. It's also, I remember I heard something about Chinese. It wasn't maybe specifically this, but it was like Chinese corporations or government, whatever, buying up like massive plots of land around the country too, and that it's like privately owned and traded, so that's legal and everything. But I imagine that gives them more opportunity. To set up towers.
Yeah, they have been buying tons of land around here.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if, like, to what extent they're still installing 5G towers enabled by Huawei around here, but I thought there was some kind of resistance to that, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think after this, there was resistance.
Oh, when was that again?
This was. Can you find out when that was that article published? Sorry, I missed that part.
That was in July of. Let me reopen it. I
thought it was 2020 maybe, or 2022.
2022.
Oh, 2022?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the top.
This is the final war.
Go down.
God, what is up with this silly ad?
There we go. Right there.
July
2022. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's ongoing.
Yeah. But like imagine the shoe being on the other foot. Never in a million years would China let us do that.
No way. And yeah, so I wonder if it's like corporate greed driving the or like outweighing the risk, I guess, for our government. But I don't know. That seems sketchy. According to Xi, that's a bad move for us.
I guess that's a win for communism.
Using capitalism to beat capitalism, beating us at our own game. Wow.
Yep. Finding our vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Okay, so they messaged you about talking about the daughter of the Huawei executive CEO.
Yes, she was a CFO. Yeah,
a CFO. What do they say about that, and why was that relevant to the story?
So this is the beginning of like their brilliant way of weaving modern, like verifiable current events with what could or could not be true in terms of who they are. So pretty much what they said is we have our acknowledgements. They were saying they were somewhat responsible for this. They were somehow involved that, and they were vague about that, but pretty much I started looking at Huawei and started looking at 5G, which by the way, they got in touch with me. One of the first things they said when they mentioned 5G is they said, we're not sure if these are your own beliefs or if you're working for someone. And so it took some digging with them and a little more conversation to understand. But pretty much it must have been in 2019, I was walking around New York with a friend, and like we just did, I saw one of those panels and I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then I asked someone installing my Spectrum or something, and I learned that that's the hardware that enables the software of 5G. And so I think I certainly never posted anything on Instagram. I really don't think I texted anything about it. I think I really just had like 2 conversations with a friend walking down the street saying like, oh, look, a 5G tower. Mm-hmm. And then when the hacker reached out to me, they were like, essentially, we heard you having these conversations and we're not sure if these are your own beliefs or if you're working for someone else. Mm-hmm. So I was like, did they think that I have some, I'm higher profile or some intelligence or something that, but I literally just had 2 conversations about it. And there were other things about my profile, I guess, that kind of led to them reaching out to me, but they thought I knew something more about this than I did.